we've talked a lot about the Australian music scene and a lot about us. But we'll turn our attentions now, obviously, to your new album coming up.
Mhm.
So yeah, as we were having a little chat earlier on, we listened to a couple of songs, the ones with the Aussie features. But before we go, head deep into the album, what kind of inspired you? What does the title Chapters mean to you?
Chapters wasn't the original name. Chapters is probably like the fourth or fifth name that come around, but it's the one that did make me feel settled. I won't say what the title of the original titles were because they were based around chapter 3. By the time that this interview's out, people would have seen the track list, and you may notice that chapter 3 smudged out. We don't talk about chapter 3, so that's where that is. Chapters was settled because it was almost like having 4 EPs almost. It was like, okay, chapter 1's like your rap based shit for the most part, and it's talking about where you're from, why you are the way that you are, the environment. It's it's called insidious freedom. Insidious being trapped within something, freedom being the oxymoron to that. They say you're free in your area, but are you really free? We can leave at any point. That's our freedom, but we're always trapped here. Even if I move out, the mentality might always be trapped at home. Even if I move to Australia, there's still going to be a part of my mental that is always going to be trapped here in London, right? Chapter 2, it's numbing feelings. And that was inspired by the lyrics taken from Pennies, which is already out. Again, numbing feelings, the oxymoron of I feel numb. I have these feelings, but they're very numb. I know that there's something there, but I can't feel anything. And, that's kind of your more R&B, your more like dancehall elements. There's a lot of different elements that go into that chapter. That's probably the most versatile chapter on the album. Chapter 3 is chapter 3. We don't talk about that. And then chapter 4 is the ego within me. I would like to say I'm a humble person most of the time, but when you're on the microphone, you've got to believe you're number one. And so that is my moment to just be number one. I will sit here and say now in a very level-headed way, no, I know I'm not the best in the world. No, I know I'm not the face of Australia. I know I'm not this, that, and the other that some people try and label me. But in those 5 tracks, I am everything you've yeah, that's my moment to talk my shit, basically. That's my moment where I go, right. That's my point of. You get artists that have a whole catalog talking about how good they are. But that's all that they talk about is how good they are. For me, I want to give you content first, give you backstory. I want you to connect. I want you to understand my mental on a different level before I then go talk about how hard I've worked or how far I've come or the paths that I'm starting to build now. And so that's my moment to say, yeah, let me talk my ish for a moment. That's what chapter 4 is. And so, yeah, you had these in chapters. I could have released these as 3, potentially 4 EPs over the space of a year, like every 3 months drop an EP. I could have, very easily could have. But I thought, you know what? No, I want it to be one cohesive album because it makes more sense that way. It ties in, and when you hear the full thing, it will make a lot of sense. It will make a lot of sense of how it's tied in all together.
That's amazing, man. It's good when I think personally, my this is my personal opinion, but albums is like it's like you're making a movie. If you don't have everything figured out, then it's so hard for the listener to find value, and you see it in so many great albums. One of them is right behind you, Psychodrama.
Oh, what an album. What an album.
When you've got
goosebumps, you're talking my language now.
I know. and I saw a lot of your sort of inspiration from that lyricism that comes from Dave, especially when we were listening to Plastic and we were listening to Designer, everything. you just hear it, you know, you hear that inspiration for lyricism. And for you to have, you know, and I think you're going to get so many people ask you why you're blanking out chapter 3, by the way. Just letting you know from now. I'm preparing you.
Well, oh, of course. Of course. I know this. I had a chat with an artist that's on the album, and they kind of inspired me to do it in some ways. Which was, I was going to completely remove it and just have 3 chapters, and it was like, no, that is part of the story. That is part of the journey. And so we're going to keep it there, and I'm going to leave it on a plate in front of you. And I want this story, this album isn't the same without it.
Yeah.
Even though you don't hear any of the tracks from that chapter 3, there is a lot of substance there. That is the backbone of this album, even though you won't hear any songs from it yet. Not now. Will you ever? I don't know. We'll see. I might fuck about and drop it one day. I have it. If I wanted to, I have all 5 of the tracks sitting here on my computer now, the engineer's computer. It's all there. Will I ever drop it or release it? Maybe. Maybe not.